Hello there, this is the Caregiver Spirit, a space where we talk about caregiving, but also our inner world and the ways that we are constantly changing and transforming. And I do it in a way where I reflect on how my own journey with caregiving and the intensity of it has changed the way I see the world and how I move through it now that I know some things. Today is the last day of 2025, and this morning as I was making my coffee, my Alexa device in the kitchen offered to play the song Time by Pink Floyd. I was like, wow, how appropriate that this is the song that I listen on the morning of the last day of the year. And so it got me, of course, reflecting on the concept of time, which is something that I think about a lot because my relationship with time has changed so dramatically since we've been living with ALS and what it means for my loved one to have a terminal illness and how that has changed the perspective that we have on life, on the length of life, on how long we have to be with each other, how long somebody has to achieve the things that they might want to achieve that feel important to them. Not because society expects them to, but because they really feel like something where their soul is trying to sing a certain song. And so I thought it would be a really lovely moment for us to reflect on how 2025 has changed and shifted our perspective on ourselves, on life, on time, on what we're capable of, on what we want to leave behind. I think the concept of time is going to shift for a lot of us collectively in 2026. And I say that because I read astrology, I follow it closely, and whether you believe in it or not, just entertain the notion that 2026 is going to bring about a lot of changes. It has to do with some of the big planets moving in the sky and doing some new, really powerful things. But suffice to say, I do believe, if I were to look into my crystal ball for next year, for many of us, the concept of time is going to take on a whole new feeling. Maybe not a meaning, like not something that your brain can like wrap itself around, but something that really feels different about it. And if already your concept of time has been feeling different, then maybe it's more of an integration of that, an acknowledging of that, a sort of landing in that space and knowing that you're not just making it up. Your, again, relationship with the concept of how time moves and how you decide to engage with it might change. And so always whenever I share anything, take with you whatever resonates. And if anything doesn't, just put it to the side. But if anything about it sort of clicks with you, then dive in. It's really beautiful when we allow our own consciousness and our inner self to listen in between the lines of what is being said and what is being shared and what is being experienced. And when we do that, it allows us to dive sort of a little bit deeper from the hustle and bustle of the everyday, the go, 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 to actually like interpret our own existence through life in a different way, in a way that really allows you to see who you are, what you're about, what matters to you. So what matters to you about the concept of time? And as we round the corner and say goodbye to 2025 and then say hello to 2026, what is the relationship that you would like to have with time? Imagine that you had the concept of time sitting next to you. Maybe you're sharing a cup of coffee or tea. This is an exercise I love doing, by the way, with different concepts and feelings, because it really sort of helps you embody it in a different way. So imagine you're sitting next to time. Sort of feel into what did time as an essence, as an energy, as a thing feel like for you in 2025? What old ideas about the concept of time have you shed? What ways are you ready to look at your experience with time in different ways? And when time says, okay, I'm shedding my 2025 outfit and I'm now getting ready to enter 2026, How does that shift feel like? What outfit is time wearing? All of these things might sound like silly questions, but when you really sit with them, even for a moment, notice what your body feels. Notice what your immediate sort of intuitive brain says. Whether you're someone who likes to dive into these topics of energy and all that stuff, it's a lot of my jam, or you're just someone who's moving very practically through the world, same. Maybe you want to journal today, write a little bit about time. Give it some structure, give it some context. Because I bet you that by doing that, you'll gain a whole different awareness. And you'll also gain an understanding, which I think is really one of the coolest things about having those moments of reflection, is that you come to understand how you perceive things differently from other people. Maybe the immediate people around you, or maybe just the collective, culture messages around time, the cultural perspectives that have been ingrained in us. Perhaps you have your own definition and feeling of it. And you don't have to share it with anybody to embrace it yourself, to give it meaning, and to give it a sense of respect, because then that equates to a sense of respect about your own perspective. And I've said perspective a lot, and I know it's like take a shot every time we say perspective. Bring that coffee, or bring some champagne for the new year, or whatever you desire. But perspective is so critical, and I would encourage all of us to think about 2026 and how do we want to see the world around us. And the thing about that question is it won't imply you changing anything about yourself. No change. What it will imply is a lot of shedding of the perceived ways that you think you need to react with the world around you and the circumstances around you. And this goes for all the feelings in the spectrum of emotions. When we shed those old ideas, and this is such a key topic that will probably come up time and time and time again as we chat throughout the year. When we shed those old stories and old ideas of how we think we're supposed to interact with the world, and we get a little quiet and we listen, even if it is to one tiny shift of how we actually see life, something really powerful happens. You regain some of your own power back, some of your own, I said respect earlier, and I think that's so true. The respect that you have for your own, not version of the world, because I don't want it to sound like we're just isolated and, but your own, and it's not an interpretation, although maybe it is, but the way that you want to do life and the way that you want to interact with other people. And so I think time, as I feel it is going to have a big shift in how we perceive it next year. Are we open to that? Can we get curious about that? Does it feel interesting for you to go, And especially for those of us who have been in caregiving roles, who have been in roles that have shifted, the whole your world completely has been disrupted and changed in some way. And maybe it just happened, or maybe you've been living in this for a while. You know already that you are inherently different. Will you allow yourself to fully inhabit that new form that has changed, that has learned, that has grown, that has fallen, that has broken, that has come back? How will you feel when you allow yourself to do that? Interesting. Very interesting. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I do hope that 2026 brings you a lot of things that you weren't even expecting, that make you feel more at ease, more settled in your own life, in your own heart. Like we can all take a collective breath in some way. It can be tiny, but it can feel humongous. Thank you so much again, and Happy New Year. I'll see you on the other side.